Hello, everyone, and welcome to Heads and Dovetails with myself, Gill Harvey-Bush, and Jamie Hubbard. Jamie and I suddenly we have this long conversation before, don't we? Just saying hello and how are you and what have you been up to, and then realise actually this is all that we want to talk about on the podcast. Let's just press record. So I have
Chris,
done.
good morning
Good
again.
morning. Well, good morning, good afternoon, wherever anybody happens to be or happens to be listening to this. So, Jamie, we've discussed a few things. I don't know how many we're going to get through on this episode, but it was really, in summary, we've been looking about the speed of things and how people are in such a rush these days to get things done. We've been
Yes.
looking at communication and the impact of reading comments, etc., on social media. And we've been just briefly chatting about couples who decide they don't want children and the knock-on effect to the wider family. I've no idea if we'll cover all of those in this
Can we
podcast.
start? Should we start with that one then? Just start with that one because we were just discussing it. It's fresh in our minds about grandparents and things.
Okay, and this really is from a comment, and I think it's a really interesting observation these days. I follow a lovely couple on Instagram, and he's called Greg and his new partner Cotty, and he's under man with a hammer, I think it is his handle, if you like, on Instagram. And they made a comment because he's doing up a big house, an admiral's what used to be an admiral's house in Plymouth. Anyway, long story short, obviously a female's come into the picture and he's been now getting the comments about, oh, will we soon be getting the sound of the pitter patter of little feet around the house and having children and etc. And he and his partner Cotty have come out very clearly to say we have decided we don't want children.
Yep.
And of course, they've even said, please don't give us the comments about you'll change your mind, you'll regret it, you will want children, etc., etc. To such an extent that he's actually shared, no, it won't be possible because to shut all this down, I'm going for the snip in a few weeks.
Brilliant.
So I think it's also Cotty has come out with saying that she never wanted children. So
Mm.
that adds, when you're a couple as well, an extra
Yeah.
layer, doesn't it? When you're looking for a
Yeah.
partner, it's difficult enough these days. But if you've decided you don't want children and your partner, uh, doesn't want children, it's finding that same partner and that they actually mean it and really won't regret it. They've both said, I think Cotty came out and said since she was 17, she knew she didn't want children for all sorts of reasons. And I think that's really brave of a couple these days to think it
Yes.
through.
I think, I mean, I'm gonna, from my point of view, yes, if you've got your mind made up and you've got things you want to do in your life, if your life is almost a purpose and you want to do this and want to do that, and actually you know that you can't give 100% to bringing
Mm.
children because it will stop you doing what you plan on doing. I totally get it. I totally think, and actually to say you're going to have the snip, brilliant,
Yeah.
brilliant. Because then let's go into it. Then you haven't got contraception to think about. You haven't got
Mm-hmm.
that. You haven't got accidents. You haven't got all of that, and which means that his girlfriend hasn't got to fill her body with chemical or whatever.
Mm.
Just think of how much less stress there is for them when he does it, if he does. But no,
Absolutely.
I've got to say I'm not going to say, I've got to be careful how I say this. I loved Lynn to bits, absolute
Mm.
bits. And then you have a child and you're just like, oh my life, this is the best thing ever. You do, you go through, this is the
Yeah.
best thing ever. Brilliant, brilliant. And the first few months and everything great, and you know everything. And then in our case, I mean, I said to Lynn, I don't think before we had Chloe, number two, I said, I don't think I would be able to cope. I don't think I've got enough love inside me to share with another one.
Mm.
Um, I don't know if I'm gonna how are we gonna do this because I feel like I'm all loved up. This is brilliant. And Ellie was two-ish when we were thinking of having Chloe. And and then you have number two. And yes, you've got enough love. You have. It
Mm.
works. It's great. I think we forget, especially with what's going on now with house prices and whatever, and children staying at home
Mm.
much later, 10, 15 years later than they used to 25 years ago. I think we forget just how much it does impact your relationship. And I think I know somebody, I know a couple of people actually, who've got partners that they met sort of later in life and haven't got kids. And I'll tell you something, they're both couples, they don't know each other. I only know one person as of the one and one as of the other couple. Their love for each other is absolutely beautiful. And I'm sort
Mm.
of envious that they've got that much love for their partner and that much a great connection. Because I can say that when you've got four kids, the love is more spread out. And I get a little bit of Lynn's love now, whereas I could have been really, I'm not going to say selfish because it isn't selfish, but it could have been the other way where we didn't have kids and I would have had all of Lynn's love.
But the same in reverse for Lynn, you know.
Exact. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I don't know. I'm sorry. I think moms love their kids more than dads love their kids
No,
because
I'm going to disagree. We
I
probably
know you're gonna
we
do that.
probably do. Well, no, maybe I do agree, but I think it's also because we have, or just naturally, and again, people can argue this, tend to have more involvement with the child, and that goes from
Mm,
the moment they're born, and the moment you
mm,
get pregnant, and
mm.
then if you're breastfeeding and the
Yeah.
closeness, and you're the one
Yeah.
that had the maternity leave and so on and so forth. And I think it's really interesting as well, Jamie, that people are thinking this through and looking at other people as well. In
Yeah.
today's world, it's incredibly hard to bring up children. And I don't just mean financially. I mean, with all the social media, with everything that's going
Yeah.
on in the world. And if you take that bigger view, then, yeah, I'd kind of go, I'm not sure that I would have children. For me, obviously, Clive had three before he met me. I don't see a lot of my stepchildren, but we took the kind of view of, if we have children, great. If it happens, it happens, and if it doesn't, it doesn't. I am not an earth mother. I am not desperate to have children. And yes, of course, it happened for us, and we had Jackson, and we've brought him up to be independent so that he goes off and lives his life. And I think that was also important, being slightly older parents, and him more or less really, because it's not close to his step siblings, to say, well, it's important that you can live your own life, because at
Yeah.
some point we're not going to be around. And I think it's taking that view and couples really sitting down and talking about it. I don't
Mm.
know how many couples I know who were together for years. I think my old hairdresser, when we lived in Derbyshire, she and her partner were together for years. They got married to have a child, so that was a reason. They had the child, and within 18 months they were divorced. And the
Yeah.
statistics on relationships breaking up in the first year of a child's life is huge,
Oh, it's
because
massive.
of those
Yeah.
pressures.
Yeah.
Because the mum is tending to focus. I have clients, and have had them over many years, I mean, different clients over many years, where the relationship between mum and dad has started to break down.
Yeah.
And because of the pressure, the tiredness,
Yeah.
postnatal depression, add in that now more and more children having, autistic
Yeah.
symptoms, ADHD, ADD, and you've got a really big mix. And I think it is, I think we all laugh when we have children and you hear the couple that says, oh, having a baby is not going to change our life. And I think everybody does what you've just done, don't they? Who've
Yeah.
had children, and think, yeah, right. No, we'll still go out on a Friday night. We'll just take the baby with us. Yeah, right. Suddenly you're the couple that's got the screaming baby that everybody else is looking at, to say, could you take it out? So it's a big question. But what it did for me when I read that comment, and I did comment back to them, is actually it's more than just that couple. It should be, shouldn't it? Just that
Yeah.
couple
Yeah. Their
that
decision.
decide.
Two people. Yeah.
But then you think of the bigger family circle and friends, and it's taking into account maybe one set of parents, maybe you're an only child, and one set of parents are desperate to have grandchildren. How do you then tell them and bring them into the conversation? I mean, one client said, much easier. My sibling has had, given the grandchildren, so I pressures off me to do it. But it's all of that. And
Mm.
sometimes, and I do have friends, and I, know their kids really well. And it's, yeah, mum's never actually said, she's desperate, but we've both known she's been desperate to have grandchildren.
Mm.
And I'm now getting at my age again, because I was later to the child party than everybody else. Of course, they're all having their grandchildren, or had their grandchildren, are now 6, 7, 8, babies. And I'm now getting, oh God, I bet you can't wait, can you, to be a grandmother? And I'm going, actually, I'm not bothered either. Oh, you don't mean that. You'll change your mind. So I thought, this is really funny. I had that back in my 30s when I didn't have Jackson. And now
Yeah,
here I am getting it again
yeah.
from the grandmother perspective. And people go, no, you don't mean that. Actually, I do.
It's
I'm not bothered. And I've made it very clear to Jackson, because I don't want him to
mm,
think there's this underlying, mum really does, but she's just not saying it.
yeah,
I've said to him, in this world, Jamie, I'm not sure, that I would want a grandchild coming
no.
into it. And everybody says, well,
Mm,
that's being really negative and that's being really pessimistic. And because of the pressures it does put on a couple.
yeah.
And you see so many couples, maybe again because of divorced husband, where because there's kids involved, as soon as you have children, you are tied to that other person, whether you like it or not,
Mm,
for the rest of your life.
mm,
They will crop up because your kids get graduation and getting married, and they have children, and it just gets more involved. Anyway, that's my two pennies worth. So I don't know what your comments are on it, other
yeah,
than I think they're very brave. And they replied to me, obviously quietly on the back, saying all of the above. And
yeah,
yes, you suddenly realize you have to take into account a
yeah.
much wider circle. So parents, siblings, it's kind of got to become this big decision. And people who don't know you are going, oh, or then you're being asked, or there's this, better not ask just in case they can't have children. And that's
Oh
the other
dear,
side of the coin, isn't it?
it is.
It's that,
Yeah.
are they pitting me? So do we actually have to get into the conversation early? We don't want children, so that people aren't going, oh, you better not mention it, because obviously they haven't had kids, so maybe. And if you get a dog, well, of course that's a substitute child, isn't it?
Or three.
Or
Yeah,
three, yes.
yeah.
But I think it's
No,
difficult.
it's and the thing is, I mean, as I say, I mean, I do obviously love wife, daughters, and little granddaughter to bits, but there is a small part of me that envies that a couple are making that choice and they've got that connection and it's just them. There's a certain amount of I get that, and maybe they're just a little bit more. May, they've obviously thought about it
Mm,
and obviously seen things, maybe seen things around them, both of them, and just thought, you know what, I don't really want that. And
mm,
and are they missing out? Well, they'll never know. But you know what? They've still got each other. And
yeah.
if they make that decision together, fair play. Well done.
And
Brilliant.
also, let's be honest, Jamie, you can't guarantee that your kids are going to be around when you're older anyway. I know an awful lot of kids that are estranged from their parents,
Yeah. Yeah.
and bring their own problems in adulthood. So I think
Yeah.
when you're thinking it through, it is thinking all the way through. And
Yeah.
again, the amount of people I know that have two, because, oh, I want them to, I want them to have a sibling as they grow up. And then the siblings grow up and can't stand each other,
Yeah.
never speak to each other, don't have any contact with each other. And you go, you can't have them for that. Yes, great, if that's what happens. My niece and nephew are very, very close, which is lovely, but you can't guarantee
No, you
that
can't.
that's going to happen. So again, I think I've done some coaching on people who have been thinking about it, and we go through every single option. What would you do if your child is disabled? What would you do if your
Yeah.
child has
Yeah.
mental health issues like autism? What
Yeah.
pressure does that put on a relationship? And also, I think a lot of dads kind of feel, there's kids and it's busy and they're growing up and they're belonging to sports clubs, and you end up being, as somebody said, oh, I've got to go, I'm the Uber driver today, sort of,
Yeah.
and you're going in all directions. And I think that's also then when the kids finally leave, parents look at each other sometimes and go, who the hell are you?
I know. Mhm.
20, 30 years
The
have gone by.
the dynamics in our house are I prefer the dynamics in our house when the two girls were at work. They were at work on I have to be quiet. They were at work
They
on
don't listen to this then, don't
Friday. Oh no, they're more likely to hear me through the door. Got the door closed. Um, they were both at work on Friday and at about 5, and they worked till 1 in the morning. And Lynn and I, we had food together, we chatted together. I'd got
Mm,
some things done, and I said, "Look, I've got so much to do tomorrow, Saturday. I'm going to go to work. This is 7:30 on a Friday night." I said, "I'm going to go to work. I need to do this. I need to do that. I need to empty the car for some sort of things so that I can take some more things tomorrow." And I said, "Yeah, I'm going to go to work." And she said, "I'll come with you." And the dog came along, and we did lots of bits. We didn't eat till nearly 9:30.
mm,
Um, be, late, but anyhow, I was up till 1, so it didn't matter about eating late. But I got so much done, and it was like having my old girlfriend back again.
yeah,
Having the person that I fell in love with all those years ago,
yeah.
without the without the kids are still at home. So it isn't me and my wife and our two kids. It's dad versus 3 women.
Yeah.
Oh, let's not go there.
No, and I think that's all the sorts of things to take into account, isn't it? I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
even dare I say, we're generalizing a lot here, but families who are wealthier are still having problems and their kids are still at home, you know?
Well, yes. I heard the tail end of a Radio 4 thing yesterday, and I'm going to try and find it because as I was driving around from something that happened yesterday, I had to drop somebody off. Of course, I did. Oh yeah, Dad. That's the other thing. Dads, you are the taxi driver. Especially as soon as it starts going dark. I
Mm.
wouldn't expect my wife to go out and pick the kids up from work or take them out or pick them up from the town or whatever.
Or be
It's going to be
careful, Jamie.
Dad.
You'll be accused of misogyny, and putting
It
women down.
is.
And
It is
yeah,
though, isn't it? I would feel if Lynn went out in the car at 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock at night and something happened. I mean, it's happened a couple of times where she's gone long distance to see relatives or whatever. I've I've fretted, I've stressed, because she's not brilliant with maps sometimes. And this one time there was roadworks and she actually went north instead of south to get to us. She was 70 miles off course because of roadworks and didn't
yeah.
really know. So it just, no, Dad's got to go. Dad's got to do it.
And I
One of
think,
those things.
bringing it right back, that's the whole discussion that I don't think ever takes place.
No, that thing I was going to say on Radio 4, which I've got to say on here, and I've got to look it up. Was I heard this clip, and it was about somebody growing up and being at university, and the privilege of. He said something about the privileged kids who got their drug habit
Hmm.
fed for them for the years they were in the university, whether they did good or bad. And I'm just like, hang on, that's something I've not even thought about. This sort of privilege of parents owning enough money that they can just give their kids money to not just get them through uni, but feed the habit. It sounds fascinating. I've got to find it.
Yeah.
That's my
And I
little
think that
bit.
starts, and I know when I was dealing with teenagers who went to the private schools, that actually they're the ones that have the money to get involved in drugs. And that's where the habit starts. And interestingly, it can continue, as I know with a couple of my clients, well into their 20s, which actually means they then get into financial problems.
I know a family that are the kids are in their 40s, and 2 of 4, I think it is, have got seriously bad drug
Mm,
habits through parents being um, very successful,
yeah,
self-made,
yeah,
doing fantastic. But they're in their mid 60s, late 60s now, and they're still looking after their kids in their 40s and still helping them with things that
yeah.
because they're getting one of them's getting so much trouble, they're having to bail them out all the time. So he actually said to me, when do I retire? Because then I'm on, that's, I've sort of, I've got investments, I've got this, that, but at the moment I can keep earning
Yeah.
money, and I'm going to keep doing that because I don't know in the future. And we had this chat, and then I was driving away, and I thought, yeah, because he could suddenly get a bill of 50 grand, or he hasn't paid
Hmm.
his rent, or this has happened and that's failed. I need another 150 grand, Dad. It's just like, and I thought, crikey, isn't it better to just have almost no? I prefer having no money. It's a lot easier. It's a lot easier to have no money than having a lot, and that abuse sort of thing goes on. That must be horrible.
And it is that people say, well, you're being selfish not having children or whatever. Actually, I don't think so. I think it's a really good way to sit down and think broadly, rather than paint the happy family picture, which I think a lot of people do, is
Yeah.
my child is going to be born, they're going to be perfect, they're going to be really happy at school, I'm not going to have any issues. They'll get, dare I say, the qualifications, a nice job, they'll leave home and everything will be hunky-dory. And that, I think, is is often not the way. But as I said, took my hat off to them, and it just raised
Yeah.
this whole wider issue of, when a couple don't have children, does everybody assume that they can't have children,
Mm.
and therefore it never gets brought up? But actually, if you've decided, I don't want kids in this world, for a myriad of reasons, and as
Yeah.
Scotty and that said, it's all the reasons above you've put, Jill, as to why we don't want it, and they just want each other's company. And then of course you get the, yes, but when you're old and one of you's not around, you'll wish that you had a son or daughter to look after you. And I thought, again, you cannot guarantee that.
You can't look at this
You
this
can't.
world we live in. I know a couple of people who've done very well, whatever, and their kids, one's in London and the other's in America somewhere,
Yeah,
and somebody's at least 4 hour drive away, and you can't expect them to. Well, I'm ill now, so you're going to have to come back from. No, I've made my home in America. I live here, or made my home somewhere else, and I live here, and that's it.
yeah.
So, and really, we're lucky with this sort of thing that we're doing now because we've got this Zoom thing going on. So that's if that's the best you can do, then that's the best you can do. I
And I
no,
think
I
it is about, uh how am I going to live my life without banking, literally in more than one way, on having children, on having a
mm,
child or
mm,
somebody look after me when I'm older.
yeah,
And I take my hat off to people who really do sit and think about, do I want kids, don't I want kids? And again, I had another conversation with somebody who was staying, a guy who said he thought he wanted 3 or 4 children and was desperate to have them. I'm not even sure how the conversation came up. But he said, do you know what? Actually, now I've come into my mid-30s. He said, I'm thinking, actually, I don't want children.
no,
He said, I can barely look after myself. Do I really think that I've got the capacity as well, mental, physical, emotional,
mm,
to, when a musician, to look after and give the commitment to that? Because it's a
yeah,
huge commitment. So
yes, it
anyway,
is,
all I'm saying is it's a positive note, that I think it's great that people
and
are
I do,
thinking about it,
and
and
I do.
being very honest and open and going, it's not for us. And in my book, that's okay. And if
Two
I
two
be,
little bits, two little bits from
yeah,
me.
go on,
One of them is I'm going to do this thing, which I'm rubbish at doing, which is
is
when
the heart,
the kids put their hands together and do this heart thing,
do the heart
which
thing,
which was great to see. Yeah, brilliant. And the other
whatever.
thing is, it's a shame on social media they can't just say it's none of your business.
Yes,
This is us.
yes,
It's none of your business. That's it.
yes. And then again, that, I agree with
Can't
you,
say it.
but
They
that,
sort of can't say it, can they?
no,
Because
because you've got so many
in a
thousand
way,
followers, and then people keep going
yeah.
and make their own assumptions and fill in the gaps and
Oh, right.
right.
Jiff.
Let's change the subject and talk about, as we were
Go on, go
saying,
on.
you doing your patio. We're going to go there.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah.
Or did you want to
Patience.
do the other one?
No, I don't.
Patience.
I forgot what the other one was. What was the other
The
one?
other one was about being careful when you see comments and how the algorithm then throws up even more
Oh,
things. So
that'll
you
come up
get,
in a bit.
okay. Right,
Patience.
let's talk about your patio and your learning from about patience, really.
Well, I've just uploaded a video to my second YouTube channel, which is Jam 73E, I've just uploaded a video to that. It's about 5 minutes long of me discussing this. It's a 1.2 meter by 2.3 meter patio step thing. It's an elevated bit. And because of that, it's built up off builder's rubble. And it was about 15 inches deep. And I was given some Type 1 MOT, which is Ministry of Transport. Type 1 is a hardcore. And I was given some of that by a neighbour who had got some spare. And then we've got a little lane that every time it rains a lot, gravel and sand comes down. And
You have said that you
we have
scoop it
said
up.
that.
Yeah, that bit we have.
And I was discussing this yesterday with one of the neighbours because I scooped it all up and I swept it all up, and then their lad was able to go out and skateboard down that lovely bit of tarmac. So he was over the moon. And then a couple of weeks later, we had some more rain and it filled back up with gravel again. But this gravel ended up, I riddled it out, the garden riddle, and I've got some gravel and I've got some smaller stuff and I've got some sand, and I've basically mixed it together over a period of weeks and created this lovely little step, which is a little tour de force. Builders wouldn't do it. They'd say, oh, all the time and effort, and but actually I've been really patient with it and just done bits at a time to allow people to walk over it and walk past it and whatever. And it's in the middle of a bit that will then grow forwards and backwards onto the house, onto the side of something, onto the side of something, another area. And I can grow from that bit that is done, dusted, really well done. I've had a word with builders. I've watched a few videos on how to do this and how to do, and it's also given me the confidence to do my driveway, which will get done at some point. I've got to move my van first, but doing it slowly, Jill, going out there and mixing enough concrete or whatever to do an hour and a half or 2 hours, because that's all my body can take. And actually, I saw a video yesterday of I'm getting onto the male female thing here again, Jill. Sorry, where there's a clip of some guys doing concrete work on a driveway in America, where you can imagine the size of the driveways in America. And there's a voiceover saying, "I'm sorry to this woman. You just wouldn't be able to do what these guys do, because these guys they're concrete guys. They will work week in, week out, day, rain, sun, everything through. They get up early, and they are a type of bloke that would do this." And this guy said, I did this for 7 months, and the effect it has on your body it's a killer. It hurt my back. It killed my back. I'll get home every night. And I just got that after an hour and a half. My back was hurting. In fact, you just saw me put some cream on my arms, because my arms are still sort of getting over 3 weeks of doing and gripping blocks. But patience, it looks brilliant. I'm over the moon with it because I've taken it slow and steady. And as I say, I'm not going to have to touch that again, because it's done properly. It's got enough cement in it. It's rock solid. I had to put shuttering around it to stop it, make sure it didn't move. There's a little bit of steel reinforcing in it, whatever. Just really pleased with it. Really pleased with, and I'm really pleased with myself. And I was thinking about it yesterday. If I'd have got, say, the son-in-law's in and said, right, we're going to get this done in today, it would look like a day's work. It actually now looks like 3 weeks of patience. Last thing I did was I went over it with a watering can to let the silver sand or kiln dried sand, whatever you want to call it,
go into the cracks.
Go into which I mixed 10 to 1 with a bit of cement, because our builder said, oh, you know what you should try? Add 10% cement to that. Don't just rely on the sand. Add a bit of cement to it so that the cement works its way down, and that will lock in the bottoms of them, because the cement will go through the sand and it'll lock the bases to make sure that the base they don't wobble at all.
Stay together. Yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you. And it's just, oh yeah, put a water over it, and I've got one area where there's just a couple a little bit low. Um, Not in a bad way. In fact, it's almost where you would tread on it when you step out.
Mm.
So it's sort of in the wrong place. But anyhow, it doesn't matter. Because I was concerned about as well, I wanted to make sure that all the levels were right so that it dried evenly and I didn't have a great big puddle in the middle because that's what I don't want. I don't want a great big puddle because you're going to step out onto this in one sort of area and that needs to dry first so that you can. So it's thinking as well. This is a patience thing, isn't it?
Mm.
It's thinking. I mean, I'm sort of going to help Chloe, I think, with her patio. And I've said, look, don't just think of the slabs. Think of it's rained, the water's on it, the sun comes out, it starts to dry. Where do you want it to dry first? Because that's the highest part.
Yeah.
Now, this is a different way of thinking. We don't normally do this. We just think, oh no, you put the patio outside your house and you just put a fall away from the house and that's it. And I'm thinking, no, if you want to walk, if that's your path from here to there, from A to B,
Yeah.
why not make that a little bit of a crown so that that's the first set of slabs that dry off first? Nobody thinks like that, do they? But
Well, obviously
patience.
you do. And it is that. It
Yeah.
is just, it gives you chance to really think. And I've learned
Yeah.
that through my upcycling, Jamie. I
Yeah.
totally understand why people have lots of furniture just sitting in their garage or workshop or whatever that they're not working on. And name dropping, when we took a chair to be covered by Jay Blades, I mean, before he's as well known as he is now, and it was my mum's old swivel chair. It's actually, it's a Statesman, it's an Urkel Statesman, a 1970s original. We had no idea it was worth what it is. And I took it to him, and he, a month later, kind of any progress on the chair, and he said, "No, I liked it." And that's when he explained
Yeah.
he likes to just leave it there
Live with
until
it.
he lives with it, looks at fabrics, thinks about it, and then decides what he's going to do. And that's what's happened, particularly with this last little cabinet that I've had. As I said, we had it in Weybridge that I hadn't got round to, and it came from Weybridge to where we are now. And so we've had it probably since 2019, since
Mm.
pre-COVID, that a friend gave me. And even as I'm going along with this cabinet, because I kept looking at it thinking, am I going to paint it? Am I going to do this? Am I going to do that? Even as I've been going along, I've changed my mind
Yes. Let
as
the
to what.
design evolve.
Yes, as to
Yes.
what I was going to do with it. So when I put one bit in, I'd go, oh, actually, this is what I would like here. Or no, that's not quite right. And I went back to had little Bakelite handles, and I
Mm.
had discarded them but kept them, and then thought, no, actually, they work. That works really well.
Mm.
And it's that patience, isn't it? That allows
It
you to let
is.
things evolve,
It
and you
is.
see things happen and think, oh, actually, no, maybe that would be like you're saying, you suddenly realize where the sun dries out. Oh, actually, that would be a good idea to do and put a slight crown on it.
Yeah.
Not something that so somebody
Yeah.
trips over, but
No, exactly. And nobody'd notice
mm,
if something is if say as I say, we used to do I only just remembered we used to do it on the boats. And
right.
so on the decks of
On the
boats,
deck.
the floorboards that covered the engine compartment weren't dead flat. They had a crown to them. They were molded with,
Mm.
I don't know, 3, 4, 5 mil higher in the middle, and it just cambered down to the sides so that it did shed the water quicker, so that it dries quicker.
And do you think this is all part of us having so much to do these days that we're always in a rush, 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 rush
Yeah, I do.
scenario?
I do. I
Rather than
do.
I don't have to do all this today, or is it pressure from, oh, get that patio done, or get on to the next job, get on to the next one? Is it
I,
all part
I'm,
of that?
I'm going to come back to. I'm going to come back to the big old thing that people say. It's about the journey. And
Mm,
if that journey for me on the concrete and all of that was to get a better design, to make it more thoughtful, to make turn a situation into an opportunity, that's enjoying the journey.
mm,
I think there's nothing worse than something happening so quick. You get the builders in, you get this in, you get the decorators, you get the electrician, whatever. You do this, do that. There is. nothing worse than, and I know this not because I've experienced it that way, but because I've seen people do it, spend a lot of money on things, and you walk in and you go, oh my life, why did you do that? Why did you do that? Why did you put a single door into that dining room that you're making a statement piece? Why didn't you put pocket doors in it? Why didn't you have double doors that opened classically into the walls so to make more of an entrance? You could have had a
Mm.
mechanism so that when you move one, it moves the other as well, and really giving it the wow factor for probably not much more money that you've spent. But yeah, we've got to give people things time. I've
Well,
I've had I've had a couple of chairs in my workshop. I don't know if I've shown you them. I don't know whether
mm,
I've discussed them. They're awful Vietnamese chairs, and have commented on a couple of videos that people are saying, "Oh, these," because I found them. I found where they're made, and I've seen the these Vietnamese
mm.
guys are putting videos out there, and I have commented on them, and I've said these look great. Love the way it looks, but these are not structural joints. They are decorative joints. And I've sort of got into this because I don't want to see these two chairs again. This guy's got 6 chairs. I've repaired. This will be my fourth and fifth, I think. I think the one I repaired on Saturday, which I've got to take apart today sometime. I've got a bit more work to do to that, but it's a decorative joint, not a structural joint. And I've had to, a bit like you've just said about J Blades, I like to live with it for a bit. I've had to get my head into the right place to go, right, this is the best fix I can do. And I'm not happy with it. I'm
Mm,
not happy with it. But unless I add rails here and totally change the look of it, I can't guarantee the structure of it because
mm,
it's not a structural joint.
mm,
It's a cosmetic joint. It just looks pretty,
mm.
but it's not strong enough to take people's weights. And the interesting thing is, all the legs have gone on the back legs, and the 2 chairs I've got in at the moment are back right. So it's the back right chair leg
Uh,
that's broke on at
both of
least the
them.
2 I've got. But on all of the 5, it's back legs that are broken every time. And that's, if you think about chairs, yeah, the back
That's a,
legs get the
yeah,
get the
brunt of the
grief.
weight. Yeah.
So yes, I will be saying to him, I'm sorry, this is it. I would use them as little as possible. I would make sure people get off them properly. I actually have looked at the structure. I've got a video to edit today about them. I've looked at the structure and looked at this Vietnamese website, this videos. They're not they're not actually built as chairs. They're built as tables with a platform and a back that so they can option either, well, we'll have a coffee table, or there can be chairs. So they've sort of worked a bit
Right.
smart in that respect. But I'm going to say this, and I shouldn't probably. I don't think Vietnam, as far as furniture goes, as far as this decorative furniture goes, they haven't got the history behind them that we have in the UK or the US or Europe, where structural joints were made for strength. That's
Yeah.
it. As I say, they're decorative. So yes, I've got to tell the customer, don't use them. If you do use them, I don't want to see them again because I can't
They'll
do this
break and
again
there's nothing
because I'm
else you
not
can do.
happy. I'm just
Yeah.
not. It's
But is this all part as well, Jamie? Just finally, is this all part of us going, or people going, well, people don't keep stuff for long anyway, so if they break, they'll just throw them out and buy new.
I
Because
don't know. I
there's
mean, I mean, they must have been over in Vietnam or wherever it was, and they must have
seen them
thought
and
and actually thought, oh, well, I can have them. I can have them imported, and it's only
yeah.
going to cost this, that, the other. It might have been a good deal.
Well, I mean, in
I
terms of the
don't know,
makers as
but
well, because actually I can turn these chairs out. People don't know unless they're
oh,
like you. People, I wouldn't know what's the difference. Well, I would now. What's the difference between a structural joint and
and
a
a
decorative
cosmetic,
joint,
yeah,
a
yeah,
cosmetic joint? I wouldn't know that.
no.
So again, is it that people buy that sort of stuff and when it breaks, what do? We throw it out,
Well, yeah, I'm
you know?
sure that for every one of his chairs he's asked me to repair, there's 100 people around the world just throwing
That's
that
throwing
that
them
chair
out.
away.
Exactly.
We had a set of 6. Now we've got 5, or we've only got 3 left out of 6. Yeah,
Yeah.
that one there, that's the last one out of six. But they, oh,
Patience, as you say, when you're doing a job, particular jobs, then yes, I think it is patience, isn't it? To go,
yeah,
let me just pause. I mean, not every job needs that. Not everybody's saying, if I'm going out to
no,
weed the garden, then you kind of go, well, I'm weeding the garden. I
yeah,
don't
yeah.
need, and
The
that's
easy stuff,
fine.
the easy
Yeah,
stuff can happen.
exactly. Other stuff, it actually pays in the long run,
Yeah,
as far
to
as
sit
we're
on it.
concerned, to sit on it, to look
Yeah,
at it, to consider it,
sitting
and
in
then
front
do it. Sit on
chairs,
it.
sitting on. Sorry, Jen.
Sorry,
Sorry.
pun not intended
Not
there.
at all, but there
Which
you
is
go.
why I always say I couldn't build and design my own house, because I'm sure you'd go, and I know so many people said, "Oh, why did I put the door there?" Now practically it doesn't work, and
Yeah,
whereas give me a house that's been built like
yeah,
ours, and I can go, okay, this is what I want to change. And no, I want the plug sockets there and there and there, because,
yeah.
and not enough people take that patience to do that.
2 weeks ago, I went to somebody's house and I've drawn their kitchen out and I've helped them design it. And I've thrown all sorts, and this is what I used to do on the boat, sort of thing, really,
Mm,
which was push designers, push the people who've got to make decisions about what goes where. And I would say, hang on, if you put this here, that impacts that. So wouldn't you want rather have it over here so that you can
yeah,
service it easier, so that people can still get by when you're doing this? If you have it behind the door, then so
yeah,
I asked all the right questions. I've drawn it out, and now that drawing has got um it's done, and it was properly drawn, not on a computer and measured, hand drawn
mm,
to scale,
mm,
which means that sockets can be positioned and that
yeah,
drawing can be used as this is the plan. We've thought it all through. I might actually be building that kitchen myself, which I look forward
right.
to. So,
But it is, again, it's that, isn't it? Rather than you see a lovely design that a designer comes up with, it's about, and I was talking to my elder sister, who's a very small kitchen, but saying, just think about the practicalities
yes,
of where you put stuff
yeah,
and what it looks like, and how do you use that kitchen?
yes,
When you're going for the drawer, when you're going for the toaster, when you're going for, just
exactly.
think about how you use stuff, which
The
obviously people don't, because, oh, the kitchen looks lovely,
no,
I'll have this one.
oh,
And then
that's
you have it in
terrible.
and go, oh my God, this doesn't work.
Yeah,
And it's
yeah,
not about what works for the builder or the kitchen designer. If we're talking
yes,
like kitchens, it what works for me.
for
It's
you,
how I
yes,
cook. It's
yeah,
how we as a family use that kitchen, which will be different for each person. I mean, my other sister's kitchen wouldn't work for me because I don't work or cook in the same way as she does.
yeah.
And I think again, that's always important. Like anything in life, we're all different. We all do things differently.
We do, and that going back to the kitchen thing, the thing to do is make a cup of tea. Look at your plan. Right, where are the mugs going to be kept? Cups. Where's the tea?
Mm-hmm.
Where's the fridge? Where's the
Mm-hmm.
kettle? Right, okay. Do some cooking. I'm going to do this, that, the other. Where's the fridge? Where's the freezer? Where are you going to
Mm,
put this? Where's the table? Where's the cutlery going to be? How far
mm.
from the sink is the cutlery? Because when you're drying up, when I've always put my cutlery drawer underneath the drainer so that when you're drying up the cutlery, almost you stand there and you don't even
Well,
have to use any legwork. You
well, I hate
stand
to
there,
say it. We
go
have
on,
a dishwasher, so we just take the cutlery
it's
container
out.
and yeah, it
Okay, but
dries
where's
and we take it out. And now our cutlery drawer, if you see, this is the difference between us. Our cutlery drawer, we've got a big kitchen. So I
yeah,
must admit, we've got a big kitchen. We've got a big island, which has got the hob in them on the island.
yeah,
And the cutlery drawer and all the utensils are underneath the hob. So when I'm cooking, I can just
okay, so
pull the
you've
drawer
got that.
open
Okay,
and I can get the spatula and I can get the knives and
okay,
forks and I can get it's all around. And the dishwasher is over by the sink. But that just means we take out the utensil holder, put it on the island. So when you're on the other side of the
okay, so
island,
you've
you
got a
can,
plan. Okay,
yeah. And I
okay, that
think also
works.
what's interesting is when you look at families, because I can go and stand in, well, Jackson came down to our house. Obviously, he lived in Weybridge with us. We moved down here. And interestingly, he could come into this kitchen, new kitchen he's never seen before, and
Okay,
he could stand there and go, I know where the mugs will be.
yeah,
I know where
uh,
the cutlery drawer is. I
yeah,
know where mum would keep. And the reverse is true. I can go to his kitchen And I'll know exactly, well, he'll put the cups and saucers, oh, cups and saucers show my age. He'll put the mugs there. I know his cutlery drawer is going to be there. I know he'll have this, the saucepans over here. It's really interesting how, I suppose, what you're brought up with as well impacts. But it's
Yeah.
patience. And I think that's where we come down to, isn't it? It's patience, and where we started right at the beginning talking about lovely Cotty and Greg. And again, that's patience, isn't it?
It is.
That's actually having patience to think something through
Yeah.
rather than just doing what is the norm or expected of you, is to really sit and think about the impact of this both ways before you make a decision. Jamie, that's another one done.
Wow.
So, wow. And another 3 weeks, we'll be into September. We'll have had the last bank holiday before, dare I say, the word Christmas. And kids will be back at school by the time we do the next one. Where
I'm
is
not
this
here.
year going? It's unbelievable.
Wow.
Unbelievable. Anyway, good to talk to you. Thank you
And
to
you, Jill.
everybody who listens to us. I hope, as I say, on each podcast, you get a little nugget, or that Jamie and I maybe make you think about something in a little bit more depth, whether you agree with us or not. And I think that's always good, is just to raise other people's awareness, actually, to how other people think and see life. So if you do want to make sure you get every single one, please subscribe. We do appreciate it. And we do appreciate you lovely, loyal listeners, don't we, Jamie?
We do. Thank you very much. Thank you.
You have a good 3 weeks, and I'll speak to you soon.
Cheers, Jill. Bye.